All right. Just want to thank everyone for taking time out to check this out. This is a very special presentation to me. Supercharge 2026, blast off to your best year yet. And basically, this is something that I put together the last 3 years in a row. And essentially what it is going to talk about my journey in 2025, the previous year. This one actually dives into my whole journey as of recent. And then it's also going to talk about all the things that I learned in personal development and business development in 2025 and how I'm going to implement those things in 2026 to make sure I have my best year yet. So this is Supercharge 2026. So what if the worst thing that ever happened to you becomes the best thing that ever happened to you? I want to start by sharing with you guys a very real chapter in my life. During COVID, life and business were easy. Literally, I used to say that the fish were jumping in the boat. Business was booming, money was flowing in, and because everything felt so easy, I let myself slip. Now brace yourself. This is pretty crazy. £280. Oops. Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm screwing this up already. 280 pounds. I ballooned up. I literally was partying all the time. I was drinking, living the least possible healthy lifestyle I could. I was making a lot of money, but just as fast as I was making the money, I was spending it. And boom, interest rates jumped. The refinances stopped. And loans in general slowed to a crawl. I went from a pipeline of loans of about 25 loans going at once, all the way down to 1 to 3 loans, and literally panic set in. I knew I had to make a decision. I went from making great money every single month, spending as much as I was making, to making almost no money at all. I hit a crossroads, and I literally had 2 choices. Keep moving in the direction I was going, which in my heart of hearts, I knew was not the way to go. I knew I eventually would lead to devastation, or go all in and change my life. And for those of you who know me, I go all in everything that I do. I chose to change everything. I stopped drinking. I stopped doing any type of drugs. I put health and wellness and relationships first. That decision required me to recreate my entire life. How I operated, how I worked, how I built and maintained relationships. Because the truth is, almost all of my personal and business relationship at that time literally centered around partying and going out and drinking and basically living a very unhealthy lifestyle. So fast forward 3.5 years, you see the man that sits in front of you today on this video and also in these pictures here. Today, I'm healthy. I'm happy. I literally have the best relationships that I've ever had in my life. I'm 205 pounds. I'm 8% body fat. I'm working out 6 or 7 times a week. And in 2025, I closed 107 transactions. I brought in over $1 million in commissions. And now I get to share this journey with you guys. I don't say any of this to brag. I only say it to prove one thing. If you're willing to make a real decision, put the work in, commit 100%, you can turn something that felt like the worst thing that ever happened to you into the best thing that's ever happened to you. Purpose plus personal standards equals goals. Now, I'm all for goals. Trust me, I have them. For those of you who've done my 1-page business plan training, and if you haven't, you should, you guys probably know some of my goals include to net $1 million after all business expenses, to close 156 transactions, to purchase an investment property, to have my team make $250,000 each, average 7 hours of sleep per night. But this presentation is not about goal setting. It's about goal achieving. And before I could even worry about goals, I had to figure out my purpose in life. And after a lot of thinking and a lot of back and forth with my buddy ChatGPT, I got very, very clear on my purpose. At my core, everything I do is to inspire and motivate everyone that I come into contact with. I know if I do that one thing, then everything else just falls into place. But to do that, I have to literally live my life at the highest absolute standard. So that's why goals matter. I believe personal standards actually matter more. So you guys probably know or don't know what a personal standard is. A personal standard is just a decision you make in your life to live it a certain way. And once you make that decision, I'm going to show you guys, it makes making decisions in your life a lot easier. So after a lot of self-reflection and a lot of back and forth, I created these 12 personal standards that I'm going to live by 100% in 2026. Number one, you'll see the little nugget in the picture there on the screen. I live for Colleen, my wife, Brielle, my granddaughter, and my family and the legacy that we're building. For those of you who don't know, I came into my daughter's lives a little bit later in their lives when they were 11 and 12. They were from Colleen's previous marriage. So I never had a baby in my life, right? And I've been lucky enough to have my daughter, Taya, and my son-in-law, Aaron, have their first child, Brielle, who is now a little bit over 1 year old. And it's been like this whole different crazy thing that's happened to me. I'm dealing with this little baby, which I'm totally terrible with freaking babies. I'm getting a little bit better, but you know, Aaron will tell you how bad I am. But basically, it's kind of changed my focus because I recently have hired Aaron, Brielle's father, to come work for my company. And now more than ever, my success directly affects her life because Aaron's success is dependent, not all dependent, but dependent on the success of our business. Number two, I operate in a beautiful state grounded in gratitude and joy. For those of you who don't know, there's over 3,000 human emotions. And I found that negative emotions can never live when you have absolute massive gratitude. It's impossible. So as long as I'm operating in a grounded, beautiful state, we're going to talk about states a little bit further in the presentation, but as long as I have gratitude and joy, it just eradicates any negative emotions or feelings that I'm having in my body. They do not survive. Health, energy, and discipline are my foundation. It's so crazy to me, and this is a new development over this past 4 years that I've been living in a much healthier lifestyle. But we feel like we have a million problems until we have a health problem. And then we literally only have one problem. Health creates energy, which takes discipline, which pours into all of our other areas of life. The first thing that I was able to change when I started going in a good direction health-wise was just eating well and working out. And just those little things that I started doing made such a big difference in, you know, every aspect of my life. I can't even tell you how crazy it was. So I continue to work to operate with health, energy, and discipline as my foundation. I'm a decisive, consistent leader who inspires confidence and growth. I literally cannot inspire anyone without leading from the absolute front. Got to live my life, and I need to do everything that I say I'm going to do at the highest possible level, or at least give it my best effort, right? I turn adversity into opportunity and chaos into clarity. Anytime something happens, I remember it's happening not to me, but for me. Adversity always creates opportunity. And no matter how many times I'm challenged in a situation, I always look at it as an opportunity to get better. Why did this happen? How can I make this not happen again? What can I learn from this situation? I never am woe is me. I create life by design, not by chance. Okay, I get to choose. I used to be the type of person that was like, oh my God, I'm so busy, complaining about how busy I am, right? Like as some kind of badge of freaking honor. Like we get to choose how busy we are, the things that we spend our time on, the people that we hang out with. So I create my life by design. You will never hear me complain about my situation because it's my choice. I get to choose. I'm a man of my word. Accountability starts with me and creates consistency for myself and others. This is literally the special sauce. When you always do what you say you're going to do, your brain will not accept any other way. And when you do what you say you're going to do, you attract other people that do what they say they're going to do. And it's crazy the synergy that happens when that starts coming together. I give freely and lead with my heart, even when it's hard. Even when we were rebuilding from, devastation, essentially, when the rates went up and I had to change my whole entire life, we still gave where we could give. Okay. And I think that's a big difference between people giving when it's hard to give. It creates this weird universe synergy energy that basically just ends up giving you back even more than you gave originally. So giving when it's hard. So even now I'm trying to give even more, even though I'm busier, I do have more, opportunity to give, but I'm still continuing to up that ante. I burn the boats. Commitment is my only path. I told Colleen about this personal standard and she didn't understand it. She never heard it. And I thought a lot of people heard this, but back in the day when whatever you want to call it, people that used to storm beaches on literal boats with sails, they would burn those freaking boats when they were storming a beach to invade because they knew that if they basically had no opportunity to basically retreat, there's a better chance of success. So every single thing that I choose to do, I literally burn the boats. I never sacrifice relationships for short-term wins. I'm playing the absolute 100% long game. Life and business is a marathon, and I trip out when I see people make these decisions that are so short-sighted, literally not thinking about the big picture. So every single time that I'm making a decision, I want to basically make sure that it is not affecting any relationships that I have, and I'm making decisions for the long term, not the short term. I move with momentum. So always building and never coasting. You guys have heard me talk about momentum before, but momentum is the absolute most important force in life and business. Having momentum makes solving problems easier, achieving things easier. Everything has to do with momentum. So when I'm making a decision, I'm focusing forward on my momentum. If that decision is going to slow down or stop my momentum, I do not make it. Every single thing I do is to move with either sustain or increase momentum. And I want to live a first-class freaking life filled with purpose, passion, and peace. It is okay to make money, okay? It is okay to want to fly first class. It is okay to want to stay in nice hotels. So that's my goal. I want to basically spoil my family with our success and live the best possible life possible. All right. Goals are great, right? We talked about that. You have to have goals. But the personal standards part is something that absolutely changed my life. And that has been the special sauce in a lot of the things that I've been able to achieve. Next, I want to show you guys why personal standards work and why just having discipline alone eventually will fail you. And how one simple decision can eliminate exhaustion, negotiation, and burnout in life and business. More willpower, more motivation. That is not what changed my life. What changed my life was raising my personal standards. Here's something important about my story. I never tried to stop drinking. I didn't say I'll only drink on the weekends. I'll cut back. I'll try to do better, right? I just made a specific decision and said that I am not a person who drinks anymore. Okay. And when people ask me if it was hard, I actually look back and I don't want to seem cocky or whatever you want to say, but it wasn't hard. Because I was absolutely done with drinking and partying. And I made that decision and literally it was not hard to not drink or party. Okay. The way that people reacted to me not drinking or party, that was a challenging part, but not the drinking and partying part. I made a decision which made it easy to move forward. But luckily I'm an all or nothing person and that not everyone's like that. Right. But if you start thinking about these personal standards, it can really make a difference for you. For a long time, that trait actually worked against me because I was all or nothing in the wrong direction, right? But once I understood and I started reframing things, I learned how I could use it to my advantage. The word trying does not exist, okay? I make a decision and I go forward. When I decide something is in or out, there's no gray area. It's in or out. No negotiating, no half measures. It is literally out if it's out or in if it's in. I read this book this year and it had a really huge effect on me. It's called The Dark Side of Discipline. This man is named Craig Ballantyne, and he has many, many good books, but The Dark Side of Discipline talks about personal standards and basically how you make a decision and how it makes your life easier. I see so many people stuck in these cycles, and I want to have him speak about this first, and I'll tell you my thoughts on it. So hopefully you guys can hear this.
Because in this day and age, there's so many decisions to make, right? There's so many things we see on social media. There's so many advertisements you see driving down the road in America and watching on TV or listening to the radio. And there's a lot of things that sound interesting, but you have to run everything through a quick filter so that you can then decide whether to give it any of your attention or to just say, sounds interesting, but I cannot do it. And if you're going to think about every decision, you will be eventually emotionally and mentally fatigued trying to consume and process all that information. But if you have like simple, like, no, we just don't do that. Great. Like, for example, my mom has always gone to church every Sunday morning. So if somebody said to her, hey, why don't you come out and go to we're going to go to the play it starts at 12 o'clock. We're going to have to leave here at 10 o'clock in the morning. My mom would say, I'd love to, but I can't. I always go to church. It starts at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. I can't go. So I don't even have to waste any mental energy thinking about whether or not I accept that invitation, because here are my standards and it doesn't fit in my standards.
So think about that. I talk about not drinking because it's something that was so impactful for me. But like personal standards, like there's people that just go to church every single Sunday, no matter what. And I thought that was such like a very like cool way to break it down, right? But trying not to drink or only drinking sometimes, you're negotiating with yourself constantly, and it's literally exhausting. I see people that, are in my circle that basically are drawn to me because I've gone through that journey, and that's the journey that they want to have as well. And I see them constantly struggling with making that decision. Like they will not drink for a while, then they will drink, or they'll go out, they'll just say like, should I just have one beer? It won't hurt to like drink this weekend. I'll start over again. And literally their brain is like fatigued and tired. And it's very draining to have those types of conversations in your head. If you have a standard, it literally ends the conversation. The standard does not require willpower. It removes the decision completely. For me, when someone asks me if I drink, I just say I don't drink. It's that simple. I don't even have to think about it, nothing. The answer is no, thank you, I don't drink. No explanation, no struggle, no internal debate, literally just clarity. And that's the power of standards in life, right? It's not just about alcohol, but it applies to health, relationships, leadership, time, integrity, money, business decisions. When you say, I try to eat healthy, I try to be consistent, I try to be disciplined, you're leaving that door open just a little bit, right? And your brain hears that. But if you just say like, this is who I am, I'm disciplined, I'm healthy, I'm consistent, this is how I operate, these are my rules to live by, there's literally no mental gymnastics. You literally are just doing what you said you're going to do. And the more and more you do it, the stronger those reactions go. Your behavior starts to align automatically. So goals tell you what you want, but standards decide who you become. Okay. So as Craig Ballantyne talked about, like identity-based standards, when standards are clear, your identity becomes clear. And when your identity is clear, decisions become easy, like we've been talking about. That's why I don't rely on motivation. I don't even put motivation in my vocabulary. I don't rely on discipline, right? People say I'm super disciplined, but I don't even think of it like that. I just am that type of person. When I decided that I wanted to wake up before 5 a.m. every day for a year, I basically said, I'm the type of person that wakes up before 5 a.m. So when that alarm clock went off, if I was tired as hell, is if I had, not got home till midnight from a concert or whatever it may be, I'm like, there wasn't a question. I'm the type of person that gets up before 5 a.m. and I just got up, right? Whether I was tired or not. That's why I believe so deeply. Like goals tell what you want, you need those, but standards decide who you become. If you want different results, don't just set new goals. You need to set new rules for your life or personal standards. Setting these rules and following them, this is actually the power of your mind. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So where do standards come from? Right? So far, we talked about personal standards, rules to live by, decisions that you make that stop negotiating with yourself, the identity you choose to operate from. But here's the real question. Where do the standards actually come from? They don't come from logic. They don't necessarily come from goals, and they definitely don't come from motivation. Standards are created in the mind. You don't change your standards by trying harder. Okay. You change them by changing what you believe is possible and who you believe you are. That's why standards become behavior, but they must first become belief. And that's where Tony Robbins stepped in and changed my life. So for decades, people believed that the human body physically could not run a mile in under 4 minutes. Scientists said that your lungs would actually collapse if you tried to, like to keep people from trying to do this. They said it was literally impossible. And then in 1954, a British medical student named Roger Bannister ran a mile in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. And what happened is the most important part, not the 3 and under 4 minute mile. In just 46 days later, another runner did it. So they went back and they said, Roger, how did you do this? Like, how did you break this impossible record? Right. And he said, it was easy. Every single day I woke up, and before I did anything in the morning, I basically envisioned the race from everything from bending down to tie my shoes to lining up at the starting line to basically the first step to every single step around the track, and then crossing the finish line and seeing the clock at under 4 minutes. His mind witnessed it before it actually happened. And that's why just 46 days later, someone else ran an under 4 minute mile, because all of a sudden it unlocked in their brains that it was possible. He believed it so deeply that he was able to push himself to do something that seemed impossible. But once someone else saw that he did it, they're like, well, I could do it too, right? So then 46 days later, one runner did it. Then within a year, close to 100 people had ran an under 4 minute mile. And now kids in high school run under 4 minute miles. So like in that year, what changed with the human, anatomy or physiology? Nothing. They didn't get stronger or faster. Their brains just unlocked the opportunity that it was going to happen. Bannister visualized the race so vividly that his brain literally could not tell the difference between what was real and what he imagined. So once he broke that mental barrier, the physical barrier followed right after. And that's exactly how standards are formed and how beliefs shift, identity changes, and then behavior follows. At Unleash the Power Within, Tony Robbins teaches this at a level that I thought was impossible and I never experienced in my life. This is the fire walk right here, right? This looks like kind of demonic and crazy, right? But I showed up to Tony Robbins and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I knew who Tony Robbins was, and I'd signed up for Unleash the Power Within, which is like a 4-day event, which they only have every so often. We got these like crazy good seats, but I was so busy leading up to it, like I didn't do any research. Everyone just said it's going to change your life, right? Your life's going to be different, but I didn't say like why or how or what happened. So I get there, and all of a sudden, I basically look at the actual the flyer for the actual event, and it shows that we're going to walk on fire on day one. And believe it or not, day one was my 45th birthday, which is kind of a special thing that I was able to go there. And the whole entire time I was kind of stressed out about this fire walk, right? But as Tony's talking, and Tony talked for like 15 hours that day, it was like unbelievable all the stuff he talked about. It was so amazing. But he kept mentioning the fire walk was going to happen that first night. And I was like kind of stressed out about it. And he kept saying, it's not about the fire walk. And I'm like, yes, it is. We're going to walk on fire. I'm freaking scared, right? He kept saying it's something about the state that you're in. So before anyone ever walks on the coals, Tony spends hours preparing you, not hyping you up, but conditioning your mind and body for that fire walk. We're literally visualizing the walk again and again and again. We're making moves. We're making sounds. We're seeing the walk out of the arena to the coals, standing in the coals, making a move, making the sound, how it smells, how it feels, the pace, the posture, the breath, the finish, the celebration after we do it. I literally, with his lead, felt the pride of walking on coals before I ever did it. I was so certain, and it felt like I had already did it before I actually did it. You feel the power of doing it. By the time you get in line to walk on the coals, your brain believes you've already done it. So you're like, this is already done, as Tony Robbins says. And you step up and you literally make your move and you walk across. And you feel it the exact same way you did when you were envisioning it before. When it's your turn, you're not thinking about the heat. You're focused, you're breathing, you're moving with purpose. Your body follows your mind. Your mind has already crossed those coals. And that's like the most powerful part. So after that, I understood what he was talking about. It's not about the firewalk. It's about doing something that seems crazy, visualizing it 100%, and then basically it makes the actual action of doing it easy. So the fire was never the obstacle. The obstacle was actually the voice in your head saying, I can't, I'm not ready. What if I fail? The firewalk proves something powerful. When you control your state, you can do hard things. Once you do something hard in a powerful state, your literal identity shifts. And when your identity shifts, your standards rise. These things are all connected. Now, here's the part that matters to you guys. You don't need to walk on fire to do this, right? Tony only comes here every once in 10 years or whatever it is. You can travel around to see him. But we are literally dealing with firewalks every day. Stress, fear, uncertainty, pressure, hard conversations, big decisions, work stuff, kid stuff. Every single day, the question is not, can you control your circumstances? The real question is, can you control what your mind focuses on? Before I move on, I want to pause for a moment. We're talking about belief, state, and the power of the mind. How what you focus on shapes what you feel, and what you feel determines what you do. But sometimes the best way for something to land is to see it, not just hear it. So this is a famous clip from a podcast. This man's name is Theo Vaughn. He was interviewing Tony Robbins. And basically, this is a really powerful example of what the mind focuses on, you see.
Look around this room right now and notice everything you can see that's brown, okay? Everything you can find, it's a test. Look all around, both sides of you, anything you see that's brown. People at home, look at that in your own room. Whatever you see is brown. Okay, close your eyes.
Okay.
Tell me everything you just saw that was red. Now, obviously, you saw a lot more brown, didn't you?
Yeah.
Why? Because you're looking for it. Open your eyes. Now look for red. Look for red anywhere you can find red. Any place you can find red.
Okay.
Okay? Did you find more red this time? Mm-hmm. How come?
Because I was looking for red.
That's right. Once you develop a belief, you find what supports it. So watch this. You will find stuff that's not even there in order to be successful. I bet you saw some beige shit, called it brown just to feel successful, did you?
Right over there.
I bet you saw some things burgundy and called them red just so you could feel successful.
I factored in some of those now and later.
You see what I'm saying? If you think you're screwed up, you're messed up, you're going to find and you're going to color yourself that way. If you think someone else is a jerk, if you think they're your friend and they have a bad day, they have bad behavior, you go, oh, they're having a bad day. If you think they're a bad person, then it's always going to be that way.
What was the first part you said of that? If you think...
Whether you think it's true, whether you think it's not, it's going to be true for you. In other words, whatever you believe is self-evident. You reinforce what you believe. You found what you were looking for. Yeah. So you got to train yourself to look for something different.
So your mind is literally always working. The question is whether it's working for you or against you. And that brings us to the most practical tool I've ever used to take control of my mindset, energy, and what my mind focuses on every single day. It's called priming. This is literally the execution piece. That's why daily priming changed everything for me, because it creates belief, state drives action, and the most important habit in your life is the one that sets your state every single morning. Now, priming, basically, you can do it a bunch of different ways, right? And people have different versions of this. Some people pray, some people, follow this priming that I do, which if you just type in Tony Robbins priming, the 15-minute will come up. But basically the version that I'm doing every single day to keep Tony Robbins, the things that I learned from him, fresh in my mind, and I know how important it is to have a good mindset, a good state in the morning. I basically wake up, and the first thing I do before I basically touch my phone, before I do anything, right? I basically go through my priming exercise. And the priming exercise, if I was to just kind of break it down for you, the first thing you do is you move for 3 minutes, right? You're going to be breathing a certain way. You're going to be moving your fingers a certain way. You're going to be moving your hands a certain way. You're going to want to get your body moving because that changes the way you're feeling, right? And then we're going to tap into the mind, okay? So then next, for 3 minutes, we're going to be breathing a certain way, deep breaths, and we're going to be taking breaths into our body, and we're going to be basically sending that energy out into the universe. And if I told myself 4 years ago I would be saying these freaking words to you guys, that I do this type of thing every day, I would have kicked myself right in my own butt. But you're sending energy into the universe by breathing, and you're thinking about the people that you want to affect with that energy, positive energy, okay, for 3 minutes. Then we basically shift gears into thinking about 3 things, 1 minute each, that were just amazing in our life. And it could be something major, it could be something minor, okay? Could be something like a sunrise you saw, or holding your grandchild for the first time, or your wife walking down the aisle, or whatever it is that makes you happy. The success in business. It doesn't have to be any certain thing. But you literally, when you get good at it, you are visualizing those things for a minute like they actually are happening at that time, and your mind literally doesn't know the difference. You start feeling the emotions, the feelings that you had when those things were happening, right? Then you shift gears, and now we think about 3 things that we want to happen, 1 minute each, that are going to happen in the future, okay? Maybe it's a big business meeting, how that's going to go exactly, and you're visualizing the results, okay? Maybe it's a cool snowboard move that I'm going to do, right? Or whatever, right? It could be anything, but you literally are seeing the thing done, as he says. And just like Roger Bannister was able to run the mile after he visualized it enough, this is a skill that you learn like a muscle, right? You have to work it out. But when you get good at it, you literally can see these things done. And I will tell you, it is real. Like, I've seen conversations happen that happened almost exactly like I envisioned them. And it seems crazy. But then you go into like a stage where you're basically thinking about things in the past and the future, rapid fire, right? Good, things happening, future, things are going to happen. And then before you know it, you're ending it, and you're standing up and you're hitting your chest, and you're basically feel like you can walk through a brick wall, because you primed your mind to be in the best possible state, right? A strong state, because you're thinking about positive things that you're going to get done, right? So I don't wait for motivation. I don't wake up and hope for a good day. I prime my state on purpose. And I've done it almost every single day since October 11th. That was my birthday when I learned this. Okay. And I notice a difference on the days that I don't do it. I feel different. So this is where things basically stop being inspirational and start becoming a little bit more repeatable. This is only a 15-minute thing that you could do a day, and you could have your own version of it, right? Or try Tony Robbins. And I swear you will notice a difference in your standards raising, your energy, and your execution. All right, so daily priming. I kind of jumped ahead, but basically, this helps me achieve everything. And priming, again, is not meditation. It's not affirmations. It's not positive thinking. It's conditioning. Okay, we're changing our physiology, focus, emotions. And we all know where focus goes, energy flows. And priming decides what you focus on first. So I literally challenge you to basically try something like this. You may already do something like this, but it was new to me. And this is just a short little version of that video.
So right now, though, reach up with your right hand with your eyes closed and think of a moment in your life in which you're proud of yourself. Some people think pride is ego. I don't mean ego. That's edging God out. You know when you've done something hard and you've achieved it. And it's
So I don't wake up hoping to have a good day. I prime my nervous system to make sure I have one. That's how I stay consistent. That's how I protect my standards. That's how I show up as the man I said I would be even when life gets hard. All right, from state to focus to execution. We're going to start talking about the execution part, okay? Priming sets your state, but it doesn't tell you where to aim. High energy without direction just creates busy. And some of you on this webinar know that I have absolutely high energy. And the reason I've been so effective recently is because I have a lot of direction. I used to have high energy before with no direction. So this is where most people fall apart. They feel motivated, they feel fired up, but they feel scattered, or they are scattered. That's why the next system that I learned from Tony changed everything for me. It's called RPM. And RPM is how you turn energy into focus, focus into aligned action, and action into results. Priming gets you ready. RPM tells you what matters. And once you combine the two, literally execution becomes inevitable. So Tony teaches if you want to change your life, you have to change your focus. We talked about the mind, what it focuses on is what it finds, right? The fastest way to change your focus is by asking better questions. So there's like a famous video, and it was so impactful to me. Tony Robbins was thinking, like, what is thinking? Like, have you ever actually thought about what thinking is? Thinking is really just the process of asking and answering questions. That's all it is. But the problem isn't that people aren't thinking, because we're constantly thinking. It's that we're asking the wrong questions, or we're asking the right questions in the wrong order. So most people start with, what do I need to do? But actually, that is backwards. And RPM fixes that. So the R in RPM actually stands for result. So what do you actually want? What is the outcome? Not what should I want, not what someone else wants, but what you truly, truly want to achieve. The clearer, more specific your result is, the easier it is to achieve. You're seeing that result first. And Tony says it best, so I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about that.
Our brains, you've heard me talk about this before, have this thing called the reticular activating system, the RAS. That part of your brain determines what you notice. Well, when you're totally focused on something, it's something you really want. Want, that's the key word. Desire, not have to. Get to, want, desire. This is my outcome, not somebody else's outcome. Your brain will do anything to find a way to get there. It's like a servo mechanism in a rocket. If you send a rocket at a plane, in the old days, if you had the wrong angle, it missed. But now they have a servo mechanism like your brain, and when the target moves, what happens? The rocket moves and follows it. That's the power. Well, that's what happens in your brain. The more clear you are about what you want, the more specific, the easier it is to get there. So we want it clear and we want it to be compelling.
So Tony's describing the reticular activating system, RAS. That's the part of your brain that decides what you notice and what you ignore. So your brain does not find everything. It finds what you are focused on. And the magic of this, and what Tony emphasizes, is not have to, get to. Not something you should want, something you should actually want. When your target is clear and compelling, your brain starts to look for opportunities, patterns, ideas. It's like a guidance system. When the target moves, your brain adjusts because it's so focused on that target, the result. You don't quit, you course correct. This is why vague goals do not work. If your target is blurry, your brain has nothing to lock into and the missile will miss. Clarity doesn't just help your plan, it programs your focus. And once your focus is locked in, the action becomes much easier. But clarity alone isn't enough. You can still know what you want and not move. That's where the next piece matters so much, because clarity gives you the target, but purpose gives you the fuel. And that's what the P stands for in purpose, in RPM, purpose. Once you know the target, you need the fuel. The fuel is the purpose. It's not a should, it's an absolute must. Tony says the difference between a rich and a poor life isn't about money. It's literally about language. Okay. And we can change our lives just by changing the way that we have our language. We say things. So if you say, I have to go to work, I have to go get my kids, I have to do this, I have to do that, right? When you switch the exact same thing to, I get to go pick up my kids, I get to go to work, I get to go exercise, right? Your whole life changes. Your whole brain changes. So you're saying all I have to do is make that true choice and I can be rich. And the answer is yes. You'll be rich in life and the version of success that you want will follow. When your purpose is strong enough, your action becomes easier, energy shows up. And as the man says it best.
But the more clear you are on what you want and why you want it, the easier it is. But first you got to know what you want. No, so that's the second question. Okay, now we know exactly what the target is. If I've got a map and I know exactly where I want to go, that's really valuable. But whether I get there or not is, do I have enough fuel? I got a target, but do I have enough fuel? Do I have enough energy to get there? The energy that gets you to take action is the why. So the second and RPM question is, purpose-driven is, what's my purpose? Why do I really want this? It's the why. Why is this a must for me to achieve, not a should, right? What about this? Why do I want to do this?
So what he said there is so crucial. Clarity gives you the target, but clarity alone doesn't make you move. You can know exactly what you want and still do nothing. I've done it a million times. We all have. The difference between knowing and doing is literally the fuel. The purpose of what you want to get done is the fuel. It can't be a should. It has to be a must. A should runs on discipline. You should go to the gym. You should do this. You should eat healthy. A must runs on identity, emotion, and standards. When something is a must, you find energy, you find time, you find a way. And that's why Tony always says, it's not just what you want, it's why you want it. If the why is weak, the action is inconsistent. If the why is strong, the action becomes automatic. Once you know the target and the fuel, there's only one thing left. Execution. And that brings us to the final piece of RPM, massive action. The MAP, or massive action plan, Tony has a core belief that changed how I think about execution. Massive action is literally the cure-all. When you study high performers or anyone that's achieved something that's absolutely amazing, they have one thing in common. It's not intelligence. It's not talent. It's not luck. They may have some of those. But they all have one thing in common. They're absolutely relentless. I know so many people that are friends or acquaintances that have done absolutely amazing things. And if I think back to all those people, all of them are relentless. They do not give up because nothing is easy. If one thing doesn't work, they don't get discouraged. They adjust. They try another. They try a different approach. They try another. They try another. They try another. They don't make it emotional. They don't take it personally. They don't quit. They keep moving. And that's the difference, because momentum doesn't come from being perfect. No one's perfect. It comes from staying in motion. And when you combine clarity, purpose, and relentless action, results become absolutely inevitable. And that is massive action.
Our goal is not that we don't go into spin. It's not that you one day don't do this well or you drop it out. It's like you get right back on the horse and you do it again and you master it and you master it and you master it until after a while, you'll be that great. But notice the greatest in the world keep practicing what they're already great at. They're practicing 100 million times more than they're actually taking the shot. But that's how they're the best in the world. We want to be the best in the world at managing our lives. Well, watch this. This is what he practices on. I found out when I sit down with him, well, I'm curious. When you're doing this, what do you focus on? And he said, my entire focus is not on the basket, not the whole thing, not even the rim. Put it up there, throw up the picture for us so we can show it to him. This is what he focuses on right there. Those two little rings at the very edge at the top where you see the strings in, right in the center. He focuses on that spot and putting the ball just above that spot. Most people look at the basket as a whole. He's that clear and he's that practiced. You follow me? It's both. Because his focus is so precise, he finds the target.
So it's hard to argue that Steph Curry is not probably one of the best shooters in basketball ever, or one of the best, right? But the reason he's so elite is his precision. And I feel like a lot of times in our lives, we aim at success in general. We don't focus on that little tiny spot above the rim like he focuses on. And just like Tony said, like, it takes practice to be good at life. It doesn't just automatically happen. The best aim at exactly what matters. And when you have clarity, it creates speed, it creates precision, and it creates results. So the priming sets my state every day, can set yours too. The RPM gives you your direction. And when you combine the two, goal achievement stops being helpful. It starts being inevitable. RPM helps you execute. The execute creates something else. A reputation. And a reputation is the oldest form of brand. I want to close for you guys with something that has become incredibly important to me. Your brand is not your logo. Your brand is not your colors. Your brand is not your website. Those fall into it, but it's not that. Your brand is literally your reputation. And reputation has been around since the beginning of time. It's what people think about when they think about you. what they say about you when you leave the room, how someone introduces you when you're not there. And here's the truth most people miss. You literally already have a brand, whether you like it or not, whether you're intentional about it or not. So let me ask you guys. You can unmute yourself. There's only a few of us here. Describe me in a few words. Like just shout them out, whatever you want. This is where the crowd participates. Okay. High energy.
Honest.
Honest.
Enthusiastic.
Okay.
Genuine.
Very
Okay.
genuine. Willing to
Cool.
share.
Thank you.
Passionate.
Those are all amazing, and I appreciate you guys. I'm glad I didn't have any of my like super close friends that probably would have said something mean, right? Or joking around or whatever. But it doesn't matter what words you use, like, right? I can't control those words, or can I? Right? That's my brand. My brand is those words that you said. And I basically did this exercise from reading a book called Wealthy and Well Known. And it's written by a guy named Rory Vaden and AJ Vaden, his wife. They own this company called Brand Builders. It's this massive company. They also do a million other coaching things. Amazing stuff they have put out all over. But this book specifically is on brand. And then one of the exercises is to go on social media and basically say, describe me in a few words and see what people say. And it's scary because you're going to get some people messing around, right? But what people respond, if they respond, that's your brand. It doesn't matter the words, right? Whatever they say, that's the brand. But building a brand isn't easy. And those words that you said did not happen by accident. They came from being super intentional, right? Those things that you said are based on the way that I show up, how I treat people, what I talk about, what I stand for. You didn't say anything about the Mortgage Manfro logo, right? Or colors. You said things about the way that I made you guys feel by the things that I've done. If we don't decide what we're known for, we leave it up to others. And if they decide, it may not line up with exactly what you want, right? So I challenge you guys to try that. Go on social media, make a post, a simple phrase, describe me in a few words. Whatever people respond, that's your brand. And it gives you a base to figure out, are you doing a good job of building your brand? So your reputation turns into a beloved brand. And one of my goals for this year is to build a beloved brand. Early in my career, I launched something called Mortgage Manfro Gives Back, and people absolutely loved it. And then for one reason or other, like all of us have done, we find something that's working and people that love, and for some reason, we stop freaking doing it. Life happened, business grew, whatever a million excuses you want to say. One reason or another, I got away from it. But I've always wanted to relaunch Mortgage Manfro Gives Back for years. And it wasn't until I hired a business coach, who happens to be on this Zoom, that finally helped me commit to bringing it back. Along with getting consistent, doing things like the letter from the heart, where I mail those out to people and they basically get like a little insight on my life with some pictures. Anyone that's not getting that, hit me up. I would love to send it to you. I include like 3 or 4 printed pictures. It's been a game changer in my newsletter. So on top of all the way I show up and I act, I'm also doing other things, right? But this beloved brand thing and the charity thing that I launched with Mortgage Manfro Gives Back is literally what was shocking and surprising and amazing at the same time. So my whole goal was to basically do something with Mortgage Manfro Gives Back where it was like collaborative effort with the people that I know. And I'd heard that basically, a lot of homeless people are in need of socks, right? So I decided to put this crazy number out there. I was going to gather up 5,000 pairs of socks, right? That was going to be insane. And everyone kind of was like, that's crazy, right? And even I thought it was a little bit crazy. But what happened after I launched that was basically the magic. It went absolutely nuts. Like, we ended up getting over 10,000 pairs of socks. There was over 167 people donated. It turned into something much bigger than I could ever expect. My clients and referral partners started seeing me differently. Even clients who didn't participate, every time I see them, they're like, wow, that was so cool what you did with the socks. They had something to connect with me on that wasn't mortgages, right? And I didn't necessarily do it for that initially. I wanted to just do something like that because I just felt like it was a good thing to do. But then once I started putting it out there and seeing how everyone was kind of collaborating together, I just started seeing like this is something that you could do that could make a difference for people. It's a good thing, but it also builds your brand, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. People trust who they see and they work with who they trust. So you've got to be able to get people to see you so they can trust you. If you trip out on this, like and I'm guilty of the same thing. We think of movie stars and we trust them because we see them, or people on TV. A lot of times people trust people that they don't even know. You might not even know that person's real name. You just automatically trust them because you've seen them that much, right? So you do not want to be the world's best kept secret in whatever industry that you're in. You want to be seen. And that's what helps you build your brand and the way that you're acting and reacting and things that you're doing. So all I did was create something meaningful, and I invited people to collaborate. Whether I got 500 socks or 10,000, I happened to get 10,000, but it does not matter. I invited people to collaborate. I had something to talk about. I was doing good in the community, and all of a sudden, before I knew it, people were noticing, people were talking, people were remembering, and my reputation or my brand was strengthening just by doing something that I want to do because I was getting it out to people. I didn't do it to market myself. I did it because that's who I am. I wanted to give back. And that is part of the special sauce. So you see all the videos and pictures here of people going crazy. 1,200. I'm not going to put you guys through listening to all that. So I want to challenge you guys with this. Like most of you people, unfortunately, and maybe some of you are better than others, and I'm guilty of the same thing, do a poor job of communicating with past clients. Not because you don't care, it's because you can't think of what to say or don't know what to say or don't want to bother them. I've heard every freaking excuse, right? I've been guilty of this too, so I'm not above this. But I think it's wild because we are a wealth of knowledge in our field. People already know and love us, right? Because they work with us, but we're not reaching out. So if you don't feel comfortable reaching out about business, this could be something that you could basically piggyback on or do your own version of it or something that aligns with something that you feel passionate about. And it just gives you reason to reach out that's not about your business, right? So I trip out because, we have like 3,000 past clients, over 3,000 past clients. We're lucky to have been in the business that long and work with that many people. So it's hard to reach out to all of them personally. But a lot of people have 50, 100, 200 past clients. Like if you have a number like that, and you can pick up the phone and freaking call those people and basically invite them to be part of whatever it is that you're getting behind, right? And if you guys want to piggyback on the stuff that I do, you're more than welcome to. I don't care if you rebrand it with your logo, it doesn't matter. The whole point is to basically get more people to collaborate with whatever charity mission that we're on. You don't need to sell. You don't need to bring up the fact that you're a realtor, lender, business coach, whatever. Some people reach out with market updates and headlines and home values, and that stuff's important, right? You got to do that stuff still. That's part of your business. But creating something people want to be a part of, that's the special sauce. And that's what helps you build your brand. So I plan to host anywhere between 3 and 4 collaborative charity events a year. I partner with local charities, and I use my reach and my relationships to do good for the community. And I do not care, like I said, if you piggyback on it, you want to be part of it, or I encourage you to do your own thing. Doesn't matter if you're another lender, realtor, CPA, professional, gardener, whatever it is. It's all about collaboration for the better good. And this gives you a powerful reason to reach out and say, hey, I'm involved with something meaningful. I'd love for you to be a part of it. And only good things will happen after that. So my latest collaboration is still going. The flyer says 215, but we are still collecting cards for soldiers. This is Thank 2,000 Soldiers. We partner with Hugs for Soldiers, and they basically send out care packages to people all over all over the world, really, soldiers that are deployed, and they're looking for people to write cards saying thank you for your service. Okay, it's super simple, and we've already gotten more than 2,000 cards, but we're still collecting them, and it's something that I'm doing. If you guys want to jump on that, I have an updated flyer with a new date. I have cards I can send you. I bought a bunch of them, but that's just an idea of what I'm doing currently. So your brand is your reputation. Your reputation is built by how you show up. And when you show up with heart, consistency, and service, You build trust. That trust turns into warm leads. Warm leads turn into referrals. Referrals turn into repeat business. That turns into long-term success. And that's how you build a beloved brand. And that's how you make 2026 your best year yet. By design, not by chance. Thank you for checking it out. All right, that's it. If you guys
Thank
want
you
to
so
mute,
much,
we can
Tim.
chat for a minute or two. It's only one.
Thank you, Tim. I really, the part about the personal standards really resonated with me. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's a powerful piece right there. Like, I'd heard of personal standards before, but I didn't understand how they can really change your life. And that's been something that's been probably the biggest thing out of all these things for me.
I really enjoyed the priming as a simple habit to just add, just putting something into my schedule, optimizing. I feel like any routine, morning routine or whatever routine gets stale with time. And so having something fresh that I haven't had a chance to try before. I've done, I think I've watched that 15-minute video. I found it while we were on the Zoom, but have I tried it consistently for a number of days, let alone like a week? So just makes it fun to think about consistently practicing that over time.
Yeah, and it's a learned skill, like to be able to like quiet your mind enough to like see the things happening the way that you feel like they happen in real life. Like it doesn't really start happening until you probably get like a couple weeks in, and then you're like transported to like that moment. It's pretty crazy. All right, if there's any more thoughts, we could chat. If not, then I'll let you guys get out of here. But anything else?
Thank you.
All
That was
right.
great. That was great.
I really appreciate you guys checking it out. There'll be a recorded version of this. So I'll put it on YouTube, and then I would love for you guys to share it with other people that might want to check it out. I'm happy to do small group versions of this if you wanted to show anyone else it. But your time is valuable, and I appreciate all you guys, and thanks for checking out my journey. Have a good rest of your day.
See you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
See you later.